Oh, give me 1 second, hold on. Okay. Are you able to hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Welcome to Project Review Committee for September 27th, 2023. We're gonna go ahead and start Project Review Committee at 1:34 p.m. today. We're gonna go ahead and start with roll call here from staff. We're joined by myself, Oscar Cepeda, the Associate Planner. We're also joined by Jeff O'Neill, the City Planner. We're also joined by Rocio Mejia, the Assistant Planner. We're also joined by Jason Reidenauer, the Assistant City Manager. We're also joined by Javier Sanchez, the Engineering and Project Management Director. We're also joined by Michael Knight, our Works Director. We're also joined by Clayton Dignam, our Fire Marshal. We're also joined by James Wickersham, our Chief Building Official. We're also joined by David Payne, our Water Utility Superintendent. We're also joined by Mr. Acevedo with the Police Department. And that is all from staff. With that, we're gonna go ahead and open oral communication. This is the opportunity for any members of the public to address the committee on any matter pertaining to project review. Hearing no comments from any members in person or online, we're gonna go ahead and close oral communications. For today's agenda, just for everybody's knowledge, item number 2 has been postponed for the following week. Due to a scheduling conflict. So with that, we'll go ahead and start with item number 1, which is Project Review Committee number 2023-034 for Green Smog number 2 to be located at 70 South Hawkins Street. Want to join us, Cien? Thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So what we have here for item number 2023-034, the applicant is proposing a change of occupancy for Green Smog number 2, which is an automobile vehicle service and repair minor to be located at 70 South Hawkins Street. The property is zoned downtown retail south of Olive and has a general plan land use designation of downtown retail. As far as the comments from planning, the use is a permitted use within that zone district. Of course, there are development standards on how we conduct the business. For example, under our Porterville Development Ordinance section, for our automobile vehicle service and repair, section 30104, it does state that the work or service has to be conducted inside the building.
Okay.
Okay. So that is something that we would like to identify.
Okay.
Also, any signage related to the business, making sure it complies with our development standards. It is in our downtown retail south of Olive, which allows 2 square feet per 1 linear feet of frontage for signage. And for those signs to comply with our downtown design guidelines. Any changes to the exterior will also have to comply with our downtown design guidelines. I do see that it's not being proposed at this time, but just for your knowledge.
Okay.
Any temporary signs associated with the use will require a temporary sign permit. And those standards are under 30511 of our development code. That's pretty much the comments from staff, from planning. With that, I want to move along with the fire department.
Okay, so the operation of the building is gonna be used as a smog and repair shop, obviously.
Just small going, no repairs.
No repairs at all.
No, sir.
Okay, so is there
Test
gonna be any, so repairs only,
Test only.
no repairs and no storage of vehicles?
No.
Okay. As long as there are no storage of vehicles or repair of vehicles, commercial, then fire sprinklers are not required by the code.
Okay.
If we find that there's a vehicle that's stored in there, or we find that there's repairs being conducted, you will be required to sprinkler the entire area.
Okay.
So with that, otherwise for me, it's address, it's gotta be posted on the building. It's gotta be a contrasting color so we can see it.
Okay.
Fire extinguishers have to be placed to comply with the currently adopted edition of the California Fire Code, which is the 2022. And Knox access is required.
I'm sorry, could you tell me what Knox access is?
Knox access is a Knox box that allows the fire department to enter the business. If, for example, we respond at 2 AM, we don't have to cut through your doors.
Okay. Oh, I don't know what a Knox.
I'll-
Okay, thank you.
It'll be in the notes. There's a link to do that. And then I just recommend if you want to contact me before, we can come out, take a look at the building.
Yes.
Usually it's just a box that's mounted on the wall that you order from them. And then it gets shipped to me. I'll call you, you'll have it installed, and then we put keys in it and lock it.
Okay,
So,
okay, yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Clayton. Next with our building division with James.
So is that the, I think I talked to you at the counter, right? That's the only door?
Yes,
That-
the roll-up door, yes.
Door. So you'll have to have a man door for a business. So you cannot use a roll-up door for egress at all.
Yeah, okay. Would that be like swapping out the roll-up door and actually have a door within that whole roll-up door? Would that work? Or would it have to be separate? Like
Again-
get cut open the window?
Again,
or-
any servicing or testing would have to be done inside the building.
That's not a problem.
yeah.
That's not a problem. Because the ramp goes up and then it comes to a flat spot. That's where I'm gonna be conducting my services. So the
Right in
garage
front
the garage door will not be blocked. The car will roll all the way up. And it will be it will be open.
But the code states that you cannot use a roll-up door for entry of public employees, anything.
Okay.
So I think we talked to Jovita
We did
one
about this,
time years
this side
ago.
right here, about when they wanted to utilize that space.
Yeah.
That door.
Remember, because
Yeah.
she wanted to
told
put
her-
vehicles in there, but we told her you can't store vehicles in the building.
So
So
Wow.
it's possible, it's just, you know.
my only option is to use that window as a door.
I think we had talked to her about actually cutting the brick and framing in and putting in a door with Cause it'll need stairs and then a ramp going down.
Yeah, it would only need technically a ramp as long as you don't block the whole sidewalk, which it looks pretty wide.
Yeah, so if that window goes into your space.
Yes.
You could potentially utilize that opening as the door, frame it in and everything.
Okay. That's gonna be done with, yeah.
And any other work that's being done in there?
No, sir.
Electrical, plumbing, mechanical.
That's done in there?
That you
That
would
you'll be doing
Oh.
to go in.
No, right now it's good. I painted the place already. Other than that, it's, yeah, no plumbing. The restroom works, bathroom works.
Yeah, any modification, would potentially possibly take permits. So the door would take a permit,
Yes, yes.
and then if you're doing anything else, you just add it to the same permit.
Okay. Okay.
And the storage area there, is that?
That is that other roll-up door.
The other, that's
Yeah,
that wall.
that's the other tenant.
That's from the bottom shop.
Yes, the Bower Supply Shop.
That's all I would.
Sounds good, thank you, James. Next with engineering with Javier.
So there's no construction going on, it's just moving in?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so with that, then engineering wouldn't have any comments.
Thank you, Javier.
Thank you.
Next with, Michael.
Sorry, I was on mute. Just looking at the surface streets, in regards to the back of the building. We'll definitely have to reach out and have a conversation with the property owner, which it seems like there's 3 tenants in this one building, to address the trash enclosure, or the location thereof moving forward. We'll have to make sure nobody's generating any green waste, because the building without a waiver will require an organics bin. And it currently is not being supplied with a recycle bin, so the refuse superintendent will be reaching out to discuss service for the property, but it will require at a minimum 2 bins with a waiver for organics generation. We'll be reaching out to you on that and looking to see where we can house this trash enclosure or location of the bin. And then on the other side of that, I'm sure Dave will have a comment in making sure this facility, in coordination with the other tenants, to see how the water utility is being split and making sure the appropriate backflow preventers are in place for service on the property. That's all the comments I had.
Thank you, Michael. Any additional comments, with David? With regards to water,
No, Mike covered the backflow, so I think we're good.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments, from our police department?
No comments from the police department.
Thank you. I think that's all comments from staff, unless there's any other comments from staff or if the applicant has any questions in relation to, today's, application. No question. So we'll compile each department's comments in a letter, that should be sent out to the applicant in 2 to 3 weeks timeframe.
Okay.
And have you applied for the business license yet?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
I think we just got it.
Well, yeah, I filled out the application and that's about it.
What I'd like to do is maybe amend that, have you amend that with a statement that there will be no repair or storage of vehicles, so we have a document that identifies that.
No problem.
Right, all good. Well, thank you, Singh, for the application. and
Thank you guys very
hopefully
much.
We're able to get you, your,
Thank you.
finalized.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, thank you. You too. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, moving along, we go ahead and, next item on the agenda is item number 3. which is Project Review Committee 2023-035 for Al's Mini Mart.
36. There's two 35s on.
It should be 36, sorry, I think it's 30, yeah, typo, 36. Go ahead and pull up the project here. So the applicant is proposing the redevelopment of Al's Mini Mart located at 943 West Westfield. The redevelopment would consist of the new service station of 3,500 square feet. Also a restaurant with a drive-through facility consisting of 2,000 square feet. The property is zoned in the neighborhood commercial zone district and has a general plan land use of neighborhood commercial. So we'll start with planning comments. The subject site received a conditional use permit in 2019 for the establishment of the service station with alcohol sales. With the redevelopment of the property, it will require a modification of that conditional use permit, which it will be a public hearing. There are fees associated with the modification. The modification fee for the conditional use permit is $150. It will require an environmental assessment, in which we'll have an environmental coordinator make that determination, if it will require an initial study. Since it will require a public hearing, the notice will be sent or mailed to the properties adjacent to the project site at a 500-foot radius. The city can complete this service for the applicant for a fee of $26.50. As far as comments on the redevelopment, the service station is shown at 3,500 square feet, which is which does not exceed the maximum gross floor area for a service station. We do have one comment in relation to the drive-through facility. The zone district of neighborhood commercial does not permit a drive-through facility in conjunction with a restaurant. It
You
is
said
strictly
they did
prohibited-
not, I'm sorry,
Correct.
they did not allow the drive-through?
Correct. The development code prohibits drive-through facilities in the neighborhood commercial zone district.
Mm.
Other than that, the development looks like it complies with our development standards majorly. Of course, the landscaping would have to comply with. our-
Oscar, there's no exception to that. I mean, as you guys know that for a restaurant, especially we're gonna be reducing the size of the restaurant to 1,500 square foot, by the way. There's no exception to that, you know, to be able to add a drive-through.
Currently, our development code prohibits drive-through facilities in the zone district. It goes back to the development standards permitted or uses permitted within the neighborhood commercial. Not sure if this could be an option. The applicant can propose a development code amendment, which is also a public hearing. It is a discretionary approval. I'm not sure if it will be voted in favor or not, but there is a process in our code if the applicant would like to propose a change in our development code.
I mean, yeah, you guys all aware that drive-through are a lot more popular, especially after COVID. People are a lot more comfortable and getting their food through the drive-through. They, you know, it's almost, you know, necessary for a restaurant that size. It's just the way the restaurant business is going now. I mean, I know even national tenants like, Subway and Panda Express that do not used to require drive-through are all going drive-through. And so I guess we will have to submit that development code amendment and see, and if you guys will vote in favor.
Well, it would be the city council voting in
Yes.
favor or against, not staff.
Correct.
And just to emphasize what Oscar was saying, all of the other commercial zone districts do allow drive-throughs. Just this one does not. So that's with the understanding that what you just said could be used to help convince the city council to change the code. There are already 3 other commercial districts outside of downtown, plus downtown districts that already allow drive-throughs. It just so happens that the one that your property is located in does not. Just for clarification, but yes, you can certainly submit.
But
for
we can submit and
Correct.
take our,
Correct. And as stated, you could make those arguments on behalf of your application. We will provide those fees for a development code amendment. I think it's about $4,100, but we'll provide that on the letter that will be mailed out to the applicant.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's say they don't, and because we will not develop the restaurant without the drive-through, we won't do it. Let's say it's not approved, then we can go ahead and just build the C-store and the 3,500 square foot, and that's it. I mean,
Yeah, you could go up to 5,000 square feet. If again, that would be the maximum gross floor area for a service station in this zone district. But that could be an option.
yeah, for a service station, we won't do more than 35. It's just, it's a convenience store. It's not, that's 5,000 is not necessary. But we will just eliminate the restaurant. I mean, we will submit the application. Hopefully, it will be considered. They will allow us to do a drive-through. Without a drive-through, it's we just won't develop it. We won't build it.
Understandable.
Is a laundromat allowed in this zone?
Can you repeat that?
Laundromat, would it be allowed in a neighborhood commercial?
Hold on. Let me pass it along to our fire department while I look up at that information.
Okay.
With Clayton, that way he could provide any fire comments.
Okay, so I know you've talked about in the meeting today, you're talking about reducing some sizes or changing the scope of the project. All of these notes are based on the submittal. So my notes today or comments today will be just based on the submittal, and then we can reevaluate those based on what's actually submitted at the time you go through the process. So just starting with the fire comments, the project shall comply with the latest applicable codes. Secondary point of access will not be required based on the current proposal to remove and replace the store and add a restaurant. Any further addition, change, or expansion of the subject site, whether residential, commercial, or mixed use, shall require an approved secondary fire apparatus access road. Secondary access shall comply with the most recently adopted edition of the California Fire Code, and it'll need to be verified as recorded on the deed for any properties that it may cross. A few years back, we received a proposal for some residential stuff. And so as this property, because of its large size, wants to be fully developed, there will need to be a secondary access point for the fire department.
My question for the fire department, where can we get the secondary access?
That would not be something that I would propose. I'm not I don't design the projects. There are requirements in the code that the secondary access and the primary access be a minimum of half the diagonal distance apart. So your property is kind of stuck. It really looks like some access roadway will need to be required from the south, potentially, just due to the fact that you are kind of stuck with
There's no.
overpass.
Yeah, it's not possible. Those are fourplexes. They look like fourplexes to me, or some apartment complex.
Residential.
Yeah, residential. And no one was going to allow, easement through their property for access. It's just,
Again, yeah, I don't design the projects. All I can tell you is what the code requires.
okay.
So,
So
the
what is the maximum square footage I can develop? Let's just say retail, neighborhood retail. The maximum square footage I can develop with only the current access code that that we have.
I would say based on what the statement Oscar made, the 5,000 square feet, what is currently permitted, that would be the threshold.
So that is for the C-store. So in addition to that, we can add a restaurant?
Because they were connected, I would allow that. If you, for example, if you build a store with the attached laundromat, if you build a store with the attached restaurant, but if you build the store and then later come in and say a year or two from now, and you want to add a restaurant to the property or a laundromat, or you want to add residential component, or you want to add to the project, we are going to have a secondary access point.
So basically, the rest of the property, because it's not possible, unless.
So essentially what I'm saying is that what is there now and what you propose are close enough that I allow the existing non-conforming access. But if that project changes, then we have to comply with the code.
Okay.
What you're proposing now on paper with us is not substantially larger than what is existing. And so therefore I'm inclined to allow the existing non-conforming because it's not going to necessarily increase the threat. But as we start increasing the volume of traffic and the buildings and the number of buildings and lot coverage and the distance from the current entrance, that's where the secondary access triggers.
So what is the maximum retail building I can
He just said
have on
5,000.
the site?
5,000.
Well,
would be
it's for
5,000
the
for the
C-store,
Yeah.
but if they're all,
The zone district allows a 0.30 floor area ratio. But again, it's, once you add more square footage, there's other codes that could be triggered. But the zoning district allows for a floor area ratio of 0.30. Of course, each use, may change as far as the allowable. We could provide you with our development code, and then also the zoning district, and the land use, table, after this meeting. That way you could take a look at other uses, and our development standards for a different project.
So the batting cage can remain though, right? If somebody decides to refurbish it and open it, then because it's just the rest of the property will just go to waste.
The batting cage, from my understanding, was reestablished during the 2019 conditional use permit. But there was verbiage in there which states, I think it gave you a timeline from when you had to reestablish it. I think it had to be within 2 years of that resolution. Since it hasn't been reestablished, again, we could bring it up again through this process to see if that could be an option for you guys to try to reestablish that use.
Okay.
Through the conditional use permit process.
Okay. So I guess we will just build 1,500 square foot. We'll submit for the for the drive-through, and then if the drive-through is not allowed, then we'll just leave the 2,000 square foot or 1,500 square foot building for, you know, as a structure, as a shell building until we find a tenant. Then, you know.
So I'm going to go ahead and just continue with the fire notes.
Go ahead.
So the project has to meet the minimum fire flow requirements for Appendix B of the California Fire Code. Depending on the location of existing fire hydrants and required fire flow, additional hydrants may be required. All hydrant locations shall be approved by the fire department. On-site fire hydrants and mains shall be provided where required by the fire code official. Fire hydrants located across a public street shall not be utilized for calculations or considered as available to meet the fire flow and/or FDC connection requirement for the project. No structure shall be greater than 400 feet from a hydrant. All hydrants must be in place and accepted by the fire department prior to any combustibles being brought on site. Fire hydrants are to be installed as to not exceed 300 feet distance between hydrants. UL 300 compliant suppression system for the restaurant if producing grease-laden vapors. NFPA 13 fire sprinkler plans and calculations required for the structure. The FDC required to be placed within 50 feet of a fire hydrant in an approved location. Where conditions permit, the FDC is to be located no closer than 40 feet to the building. Where required, the PIV also is required to be at least 40 feet from the building. The fire sprinkler monitoring or fire alarm plans are required. If common driveways are 150 feet or greater in length from the public street, the fire department access road and required turnaround shall comply with the currently adopted edition of the California Fire Code. This will need to be shown designated on the plans. What you show now, as long as those are a minimum of 20-foot roadways, as far as the proposal for the parking and that stuff, it does meet that. But as this project changes, this comment is in there just to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The required fire apparatus access and turnaround signage and marking shall comply with Appendix D of the Fire Code and the California Vehicle Code. Again, maintaining the minimum of 20-foot roadways. Address numbers posted on the building, visible from the street, and the numbers shall contrast with their background. Fire extinguishers shall be placed to comply with the currently adopted edition of the Fire Code. And NOx access building is required for the buildings and any gates that are installed. There are no deferred items, and the fire department apparatus access roads are required to be support the sustained load of 75,000 pounds and be all weather. So, and with that, that's it for the fire comments.
Thank you, Clayton. Next
For the
with,
fire access,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. For the fire
ahead, go ahead.
access, do we have to provide that in the back of the building?
So long as we can get around the building with 150 feet from the front, as we would lay a hose, then no. So if we can get to the center of the back of the building, if we park a fire engine on the front or on the side of the building, as long as we can access all sides from either one or two sides, then no, you don't need to put an access on the back.
52 wide buildings.
Yeah, it should be. And it looks like it looks like it's sufficient, but when you do a plan submittal, at that point is when we would look at those measurements.
Okay.
Thank you. Next with building and James.
So, the only comments I would have today would be the two existing mobile home trailers are going away, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because those are not legal to even be there today. I know we've had a lot of issues with them over the years.
Yeah,
So
they're an eyesore to me. So they'll completely be removed. Yeah, they're
Okay.
they're not
That's
gonna
good to
remain
hear.
there.
That's good to hear. So, we would need a demo permit for the two trailers and the store.
Now, the store, can that remain since not allowed to build anything? Because that could be, used as storage or. And the two commercial, I mean, I can put a fence there but can that building remain as storage?
As far as the fire department's concerned, I'm not here to negotiate, but what you proposed is the removal of the store and the addition. If you are going to leave that store and add a new building, then you are going to be required to have a secondary access point.
Gotcha.
Was a question possibly to utilize the existing building for storage only?
Yes.
It increases the size, it increases
Yeah.
the fire load is the problem. Especially if it's gonna be used as storage, because you're gonna have fire loading inside of that building.
Yeah, so, going back to the demo permits, you would need demo permits and get clearance through, San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control district. And we work with the Bakersfield office for that. And I can provide the info, for you in the letter that you will receive. And then I can provide the info on submitting plans, either paper or electronic, through the PRC comments that you will receive. Other than that, any other comments from me would come from the plan review process once plans are submitted.
Okay.
Thank you, James. Next with Javier, with our engineering, division.
Right, thanks, Oscar. For engineering, what we're looking for is a sidewalk path to this new developed area.
Sidewalk, where at?
From the street, from Westfield to this new developed area. So as you can see, we see on your development there that the sidewalk get extended to the bulb, but there isn't sidewalk from the bulb to the street to make that connection.
So if you look at the site plan, there is 7. The one with the hexagon. Go back on the site. On the plan. Go back on the plan. Okay. So that's 7. That is all sidewalk that's from the street to the building.
Right, I see that, but just if you look beyond, it doesn't extend to Westfield, which is where
To
pedestrians.
Westfield.
That's where pedestrians would be coming from.
The
Right there.
Westfield is higher than the site. So we will
So
have to provide.
are you guys requiring us to build a sidewalk from Westfield all the way to the property?
Yes, because
That's gonna
It's gonna cost a lot.
Yeah, it's gonna cost a lot. That's just not. It becomes at a point where it becomes not financially feasible for us to, because the location is in a cul-de-sac lot, so it's even with a new development, the business is going to be minimal, and we're trying to improve that place. So that's some requirements. I'll be honest with you, just be a deal breaker. We can't. We won't.
Right, so it'll be based on the valuation. So it just depend on how much your new development will be. It's not written in the code, but we typically cap public improvements at 20%.
To save costs, I am talking to the contractor. There's a cheaper way of building like a metal building or something, because construction costs right now is crazy, especially for gas stations, for everything else. But we're trying to do something, improve the site. But if it's going to require me to build a sidewalk all the way to Westfield, just gonna have to pull this deal. Yeah.
Well, the condition will be there, but whether it gets built or not will depend on your project valuation as you submit for building permit, and what the cost of that sidewalk extension would be. If it's disproportionate, then we would back off on that requirement. If it falls within 20% of your permit valuation, then it would be required.
Okay. So we just don't want, because we don't want to be doing all these fees into this deal, and then I rather know right now if it's required or not. So let's say the valuation is going to cost around $2 million to build the 5,000 square foot building, because we will be reducing the parking now that you guys saying that's the maximum building size I can have there. So we'll just meet the minimum parking spaces to save cost. So, and I don't know what, I need, I guess I have to contact a contract. Can you show me again where, that way we can at least have the square footage and I can contact a contractor and see how much would it cost to build a sidewalk?
Well, it just depends on the path you take. So it could be along that walk path that's been formed there to that back of the return, or there is some sidewalk that exists there and extending that to the bulb. Except there are palm trees up at the northeast corner that may be in the way.
Will the city allow a sign on that lot right there? That way we have to give visibility for Westfield?
Type of a sign are you
Yeah,
proposing?
can you turn it on the north right here? On that area right there?
Yeah, that's the development code does not allow off-site signage. Are you proposing a freestanding sign, or what would the question be?
Yeah,
A freestanding sign.
Yeah, the any signs associated with the development would have to be on site.
okay.
There are sign standards which would be included in the letter that will be sent out to the applicant.
Okay.
Outlining the sign standards for the zone district and what's permitted, and what's not. With that, any other comments from engineering?
Just the sidewalk. You already have a curve here where the dirt, we have to pour new concrete. Not on that side, I'm talking about the other side. That will be connected to Westfield. So we don't need that's an existing sidewalk right there, except it's dirt. Do we need to do, because if that's the case, then we're fine, because we're only gonna, because that's an existing sidewalk right there.
There's concrete there, or
No, it's dirt, but that's somebody else's property. I mean,
right? So it could be
people
there.
can
It
still,
could be.
people can still walk it,
Yeah, no, but in the case of a sidewalk, it's a concrete sidewalk.
So you're saying we would have to pour concrete there?
Either through there, or if not, the path that's been formed that cuts across to the bulb.
There's a walkway that we're walking through that dirt. Yeah, that's what Javier's talking about. Right, Javier, is that what you're mentioning? That dirt walk?
Yeah, because obviously you can tell that's the path that's taken to get to the store. And then it wouldn't just spill out into the bulb. There'd have to be a sidewalk path around it. And then we'd have to make sure that there's an accessible path maintained around the drive approach, and then it'd tie into the sidewalk that you proposed on your site, or where it ended there at the bulb.
Javier, as part of the comments, will you be providing the city standards so that the applicant and contractor can review the best way to meet those?
I can include them, yes.
I think that would answer a lot of the questions.
That's all.
I mean, gentlemen, I mean, there's access to the property. I don't see why do we have to go outside of our property to develop, you know, I mean.
If-
Why
can I-
complicate? Go ahead.
So on the Westfield Avenue, there's an existing sidewalk. Can we provide a ramp from our property to that? Not on the cul-de-sac, but straight to the Westfield.
Oh,
Not
just
going to the cul-de-sac, but from the property, build a ramp going up.
as long as it meets slope criteria, but that does get quite steep, so it'd have
I
to.
know, that's why I
Yeah,
said
that-
the elevation of that is.
I don't even want to do that, Marcel. It's one of those things where the existing, you know, many people have tried to make this business succeed, and you know, the current condition is going to continue to fail, and it's one of those things where I'm just trying to improve that business and improve the image of that area, and hopefully the gas station will be successful, but requesting all these items that and then also I'm only allowed to build 5,000 square foot and almost nearly 4 acres. I don't think it will make any sense for us. But it is what it is. You guys can go ahead and send us a review letter, and we'll review it, and we'll see. We'll see. We'll have to look into the cost, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. With that, we'll continue with staff's comments. Next, with our Public Works Director, with Michael.
Yes, thank you. So unfortunately, there's still more to consider with this here. Previously, back when the well failed, the existing store was fed with a 2-inch water service that comes all the way from the intersection of Westfield and that bulb area. You can see the backflow device that was located there. Can you throw the Google Earth map up real quick?
So it does have city water.
It does have city water currently, yes.
Great.
So if you look back towards Westfield,
Mm-hmm.
so right there in that dirt lot area, further to the right, Oscar. So right there where those boxes are that's where your water service comes off for that store.
Okay.
And it's trenched all the way over to the existing store. Just so that you're aware, with that development and the need for fire hydrants and the items to protect your investment, that service would not be sufficient to feed the store and provide the fire hydrant service and all of that. So there would have to be a connection made in Westfield, and the water service ran over to that facility to be able to accommodate water services. And again, we'll have to look at this during plan review and receive additional comments. But you will be having some issues with providing fire hydrants and fire protective measures for that facility as a result of its current capacity. And then with the modification of those services, have you guys had the well abandoned along the fence line on the west side of the property, the one that became contaminated? Or does it still exist?
It's not my property right now, so I really don't know. I'm in escrow. We're in escrow, and so that's what we're here. We're trying to make sure before we close escrow.
So there is a well on the property. It already currently receives city water, but for this development, it will require improvements to that service that feeds this facility, which I'm sure you're already aware. And if the well has not been abandoned, currently, the well would need to be abandoned for that facility. So where the existing store is, if you go, it's just due west along the fence line is where that old well was located, just so that you're aware. And then the business, again, with the modification of the water service will require backflow preventers and meters for landscape and for domestic use. And it will require a 3-bin trash enclosure for organics recovery, recycling, and general waste. Happy to answer any questions, but that's all my comments.
Thank you, Michael. Next, with David.
I don't have any comments at this time.
Thank you. Next with Mark, the police department.
There are no comments from the police department.
Thank you.
Just a question for the police department. Any information on that store? Has it, with like crime, has it been robbed recently, or are you aware of that?
I would have to go back and check, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any major crimes that have occurred there in a long time. The last robbery I could think of was several years ago, maybe 2017 or 16, right around there. That's just off the top of my head.
I get propane there all the time.
Thank you. Looks like that's all comments from staff. Or James has a question with building.
Well, I thought I read somewhere where it said, this is connected to a septic tank still?
It is.
It is?
Yes, it's on private sewer.
Javier, they would need to tie into city sewer?
Right, and then the abandonment would have to go through the county.
Is there sewer there? On like, is it nearby?
Yeah, I can share my screen if you want, Oscar. I got it
Please.
pulled up.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me give you access. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, thankfully it's nearby. You got 2 lines there that Mike will show.
So there's one that runs in the abutment of the overpass.
Okay.
There's one that runs down the side of the property.
Okay, cool.
And that may be a consideration as well to save money. I'll have to talk with engineering department about that. Previously, the water service come all the way from this location.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the service extends all the way over. It came in at an angle through the property and then come up to the store. But there may be an opportunity to get service from this side. We have to look at that to see.
So since the sewer is right there and that green line near on the west side of
65.
the building, I think would be a good idea to switch the building from build it on the west side of the lot.
It could help with the length of pipe extension that you would need. Yes.
Utility access.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the visibility too would face Westfield. And then the back would face the free Highway 65.
But then again, like I was saying before, I believe that well is somewhere in this vicinity.
No, the well is right here, the in the middle, that white tank
No,
there. Is that it?
No, that's a storage tank.
Okay.
That's a storage tank, but I believe the actual groundwater well is somewhere in this area. So we'd have to look at that.
So yeah, if we build a building there, then it would be close to the sewer and the water.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
No problem.
So yeah, is there any other questions for staff from the applicant?
So, to follow up on Abdul's questions, so we can build a building in the corner of the 65 and Westfield in that area instead of,
Yeah, since it's adjacent to the state route, we will have to run this project with Caltrans to see how close you're able to get to their right of way also.
so if we meet the right of way, my question is with the planning department, can we build?
Yeah, as long as you meet our minimum setbacks.
Okay,
But again, we would also have to run it through Caltrans. They may have additional standards. And we'll provide that information in the letter that will be mailed out to the applicant.
do you
Outlining,
know, I'm sorry, do you know what is the maximum right of way on 65?
yeah, I wouldn't have that information. I don't know if our engineering division would have that.
Well, the way I was building it right now is, I was also thinking of future development, but I guess it's not gonna be even an option now. So we would have to submit a new site plan. It can be, the reason why the C-store is not very successful, because currently the way the canopy is about 160 feet away from the C-store. So you can know how inconvenient it is for most of the customers. So now we can even put it in the middle where the building is right in front of the canopy. Right? And we don't have to deal with Caltrans, and that will still make it close to the utilities.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
No, yeah, sounds good. Whenever you draw up that new layout, feel free to send it over. We'll review it and we'll most likely schedule another meeting with the applicant in relation to the new layout.
Okay. Maybe we should have, okay.
No matter what.
When,
Yeah.
Maricel, when, like, the signage, when do we submit that, like, along with the site plan or later?
The signage is a separate permit.
Any recommendations, Oscar? If I want to know exactly what kind, because the signage is going to be very important for the site, to me.
What type
So,
of sign? Again, it just depends what type of sign you're proposing.
It's the pole
I'm
sign.
Oscar, I think the best solution here is if
Yeah.
you wouldn't mind sending the applicant the signage regulations that
Correct.
they can review. I think that would answer a lot of questions and assist and get a follow-up meeting about
Correct.
signage after that.
Correct. I did state that earlier that after today's meeting, I'll send you our development code and reference our sign standards for that specific zone district. And I feel free more than like, and I am open to discuss this as far as any proposed signage on your development.
okay.
I have another questions. The on-site drainage, since we have is that a sump next to our property? Can we utilize that?
Yeah, the storm drain basin that's adjacent to the property.
So we'd have to provide the on-site drainage inside the property.
Correct. You can drain into that.
We can drain it on that one.
Mhm.
Can you scroll down further south? If later one of these buildings go up for sale and we're able to purchase it in order to get access, for future development, would that be allowed?
Yeah, absolutely. From my standpoint, yes. All I require and it depends on your proposal for your development. If you
Mhm.
don't propose anything taller than 30 feet to the eve, then you only need a 20-foot access road. If you propose something higher than that, you need a 26-foot access road. So if you were able to acquire one of those and you could put in a 20-foot access roadway for secondary access, I'd be fine with it. And it can be gated on that south end of your property. You can have a gate there with a Knox padlock. All we require is the access be installed, and that if it's coming across another property, it be recorded to protect it into the future through future development and future sales.
Okay, so you're saying if that fence, there's a fence, that fence in the south, if we can make access through there and gate it, you can access, is that enough access, that property right here?
Again, it would require a 20-foot access. If it's not a straight shot, the corners have to have the proper radius. It has to comply with the fire code.
Yeah,
But yes, if one of those properties can be acquired and it gives you the required access, now it may require some modification, right? Like that building that Oscar's pointing to
Right.
now.
right.
It may require
Might
the removal of
require to
that-
remove it.
Yeah, but just
That's good
depending
news
on the
to hear.
layout, I'm not here to say no.
I appreciate that. That sounds good.
So-
We'll just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, so I mean, that's definitely something that is a consideration right there. If you can get us 20 feet through there on that right-hand side is, and I'm just looking at the one over Oscar. Yeah, we could just kind of stop right there. So if we get a straight shot through here and we get 20 feet and we dedicate that a fire lane and we put a gate in on the end of that,
Mhm.
and I'm good.
Do I need to get any kind, let's say if I talk to this building, do I need to get any kind of easement from him or anything if
Oh,
if
yeah.
I'm not able to
Yeah.
acquire it?
Even if you bought that property, I would still require you to record that on the deed.
Right.
The secondary access for that property. So if you sold it or there was development in the future, that
Mhm.
access is protected.
So if I'm able to negotiate something with this property owner and he'll allow an easement or to access to my property, then I will be able to develop the lot.
And it is a dedicated fire lane. So like if we were to take that right side of the screen and that was 20 feet out, he would not be allowed to have tenants parking there or anything. Their vehicles would be towed.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's good to hear.
And it's just a fire, so it can be locked, no access.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be ingress and egress for your customers. It
Oh,
just has to
okay.
be a secondary access point for us to get in.
For the fire department. Great. Okay. All right. Understood. Any other questions, Maricel?
No.
So Oscar, yeah, you
Sounds good.
give us the information needed to submit the for the drive-through
Yes,
and
Oh, I have another questions. You mentioned earlier that there's a conditional use permit applied for this property,
correct.
and that is for the existing gas station. Do we have to renew that conditional use permit or
Yes,
we still?
We're gonna be processing a modification to the previously approved conditional use permit since we're redeveloping the property. We're changing the square footage of the service station. So yes, we would have to modify that conditional use permit. Through the same process, if the applicant wants to move forward with the development code amendment, we would also process that application with the modification of the conditional use permit at one meeting. Again, as stated previously, it will be a public hearing, and those items are discretionary actions from our city council. So again, the
So
letter
the
that will be,
condition, I'm sorry,
the letter that we'll be providing.
the conditional use permit is only,
the
I'm sorry.
fees and the steps to proceed, if you do choose to proceed with the development as proposed. Go ahead, Marisa.
So the conditional use permit is only for the gas pump, right? Because the
it's for the ABC.
property is zoned for the,
It's
for
for
the
the A-
ABC.
It's for the
Correct.
For the
ABC,
ABC,
Maricel.
okay, okay, got
Correct.
it.
The previous resolution was for the alcohol sales, which was a type 21. Type 21 off sale beer, wine, and
Type
distilled
20.
spirit.
Type 20.
Okay, got it.
It's a type 20, Oscar.
Type 20, I showed here 21.
That would, I wish, but it's not. It's not a liquor license. Type 21 is a liquor license. It doesn't have
Okay.
that. That doesn't
Okay,
sound
it
like
could have
that.
been it could have been a typo.
I think it used to be, because when I checked the ABC website, it was a type 21. They sold it and reduced it to a type 20 beer and wine. I never seen liquor there. I've known the store for 15 years.
Yes, it could have been a typo, but worst case
Yeah.
scenario, we'll fix it with this process.
How long is the conditional use permit process is? How long does it take?
It depends on the applicant. It could be a 6 to 12 months process. Again, each project varies depending on if it will require environmental review, for example. But anywhere from 6 to 12 months. It could be more. Again,
But
it
the
depends
environmental,
on variables.
the environmental review, since this is already been developed, are we required to have a full sequel?
There are some items that we could possibly do a notice of exemption for the development if it meets some certain criteria. We'll have our environmental consultant and coordinator evaluate the project. We'll provide that preliminary review in the letter.
Okay,
Okay.
just one more question, Oscar. The
Okay.
current building right now, Maricel, what is the size of the current building for the C-store?
Hold on. It was 34 by 62.
34 by
About
6,
2,000,
about
2,000
2,000.
square feet.
So, and we're only doing that because we're increasing the size, the C-store size to 3,500. So, what if let's say the C-store is only 2,500 square foot? Still need to do all that?
Yes, all projects that go through our discretionary process has to have some type of environmental review.
Mhm.
Again, we could make a notice of exemption determination. But since the project is gonna be changing here, I can't make that call yet, or we can't make that call until we see the final product. Of course, there are some notice of exemptions that we could do, like, for example, infill or possibly minor construction. But again, once we get a final layout, we'll be able to verify that call.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to make that statement at this time, until we get the final layout and review it properly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And FYI, there's a pending type 20 license at that site.
That's the applicant. That's us.
It looks like he's
That's
okay.
us. We're current. Like I said again, we're currently in escrow.
Okay, so you're trying to transfer in a type 20 license.
Yeah, we're buying the existing license, which is a type 20.
Okay.
I mean, the previous license is also type 20, correct? If you go to
There have been several licenses at the site.
Yeah.
There's
the active license, not the pending.
active is a 20.
Yeah, there's no 21 there.
No, there have been in the past, like you said, but
Right.
but there is not currently one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it probably he didn't, because the 21s are like 160 grand, 180 grand, not going, so probably wasn't selling enough to keep it and end up selling it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, thank you again for the application. We'll compile each department comments based off the application and the proposed project. If there's a new layout or a change on the development, feel free to send me the new site plan. That way we could process it over through the departments. and provide you an update on
Well,
that
now,
latest.
now
site.
that we mentioned the south side of the building, as long as we have access, I don't think we'll change much of the site plan, just reduce the parking, just meet the requirement. And,
Okay, yeah.
and, now just submit the, development amendment for the drive-through, and hopefully we can get it done, and.
Okay. No, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
However, the applicant and developer would like to proceed, we're here to assist on any way we can. And this letter, will try to get you out, this letter in 2 to 3 weeks time frame. After today's meeting, I'll send you the code sections in relation to signage, okay?
Okay, thank you, Oscar. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. And with that,
Thank
we're gonna go ahead and end today's project review committee at 2:44 PM.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.